She cheated on me, and I'm learning the hard way about it. Hello, and good day to everyone. When I 34M caught my wife, 33F, in our bed with another man, I was a little shocked. A little background. For the sake of my sanity, I'll refer to my wife as Ellie and my best friend as Omar for the time being. These are not our real names. Ellie and I met in college and had a great chemistry from the beginning. When we initially started dating, I wasn't very assertive. In fact, it was her expressing interest and desire in me that prompted me to begin to accept myself and work through a bunch of problems that I had previously ignored. The fact that someone as intellectual and gorgeous as her would be as interested in me as I was in her seemed nearly incomprehensible to me. I was merely a hardworking, geeky, smart guy who had never had much luck with women before. We've both been driven from a young age, which has resulted in both of us launching our own little businesses by the time we graduated from college. Following college, we moved in together and were married a year later. According to my observations, we had a really stable marriage. Family tragedies, professional difficulties, and little and major disputes had all occurred, and we'd always managed to work through it all, which I felt made us stronger. The fact that Ellie has always had a huge social circle that included a significant number of men did not bother me since she never did anything that raised red flags, and her social gatherings always seemed to be with a large mixed group, which led me to trust her closest friends. The topic of having a child came up as we reached our 10-year anniversary, and I decided to bring it up. The size of our family was something we agreed on early in our relationship. I wanted children, she preferred none or at most one, so we decided on one. We were both happy with it. Now, 10 years into our marriage, financially secure, and thinking about how excellent I believed our relationship was, I approached the matter with my husband. I can't get the feeling that my ex may have been the catalyst for this whole chain of events. She informed me around 3 months ago that she was planning a night out with her friends to have a good time. Because she was spooked out by my inquiring about having children again, she effectively told me she needed to take it easy and relax. Our bedroom is completely black from that point on since she returns at 4 a.m. the next night. In our relationship, Ellie has always started as regularly as I have, if not more frequently, and with the exception of short periods when we were traveling, I don't think we could ever go more than 5 days without engaging in any kind of activity. Then she starts going out more, taking better care of her phone, completely ignoring me, and doing things that I'd never seen her do before. This goes on for about 3-4 weeks until I have a conversation with my best buddy, Omar, who refers me to Reddit, where I begin reading. I ultimately come to the conclusion that I need to do something about it since it is beginning to worry me. She is not the only one I want to trust. My wife is the one I want to trust, and I have no choice but to trust her. Obviously, I take possession of her phone and begin to monitor her calls and texts, feeling like a monster intruding on her personal space and privacy. One of the new people in her social circle turns out to be an old high school flame from before we were together. It was a pleasant surprise. The more I dug, the more I found out about myself. I believe the fact that I'd always had complete faith in her helped her feel more at ease about keeping the affair a secret. I learned that he had attended that party a month earlier, and that they had spent the whole night catching up, and that they had ended up kissing in front of her entire circle of friends, and that they had also happened to be heading to the lavatory at the same time. A great pit of disquiet had been the only sensation I'd had up to this point, a part of me clinging desperately to my preconceived notions about the woman whom I imagined I'd married, a kind of fantasy. My feelings of rage and sorrow grow overwhelming, which is heightened by the fact that she seems completely unaware of my seeming disinterest. She didn't realize I'd stopped making romantic gestures. On the inside, I felt like I was about to burst out. Finally, about a month ago, I decided to catch them in the act, and I pretended to Ellie that I was going to see my cousin for the weekend. He lives 3 hours away. But actually I went to stay with Omar, who has been aiding me in recording and transcribing everything that has taken place so far. I waited and sure enough, she came to our house and put him in one of our beds. The sounds I heard as I slipped inside the house and made my way to our room just reinforced my thoughts further. They were so absorbed in it that they were completely unaware that I was standing outside the door, photographing them with my phone. Somewhere deep within of me, I had the distinct impression that something in my soul had burst with such force that I could hear it breaking. Suddenly, my veins went ice cold, and I was unable to breathe because it felt like a 10-ton anvil had been dropped on my chest. I felt as if I were about to die. For the reason that I can only recollect bits of the next few minutes, I can only tell you what Omar alleges happened during this phase of the conversation. A witness I had brought with me, Omar, said that I approached them and pulled the guy off the bed, after which Omar grabbed me off of him. Omar threw me to the ground, and I remember being pinned there. Following that, there was the typical panic that comes with being detained by the authorities. I spent 5 weeks without communicating with anybody and then began working with a lawyer, ready myself for the worst. Because I didn't want to talk with her, Omar served as her primary point of contact throughout that time period. Ellie contacted my parents to let them know that we were having problems, as she put it. After 5 weeks of NC, we got together and spoke. She expressed regret and said that it was not my fault since it was all her fault, her duty, and her decisions. We made the decision to seek marriage counseling in order to determine if there was anything that might be salvaged. I can't believe how much I still admire her after all this time has passed. I'm disgusted with myself for being concerned about her well-being and happiness in the first place. That I now have to reconsider our whole relationship is something I truly dislike. Was it just now that she admitted to cheating? Or had it happened before and I just didn't look closely enough, or was too trusting to see it at all? The last month has passed since I made the decision to seek marriage counseling, and I have a few questions for those who have already gone through the process. 1. Is it possible to reconcile with one's partner without losing one's sense of self-worth? 2. For how long does the cycle of anger, sadness, and numbness continue to repeat itself? I'm fed up with getting thrown about on an emotional roller coaster all of the time. 3. I loathe the idea of having to be on the lookout at all hours of the day or night. Whether this is an indication of my want to go or just tiredness, I'm not sure which it is. To be completely honest, I'm open to any and all recommendations. Her presence makes me feel at ease. I've been over heels in love with her since we first met in college, and I want to make it work with her. Do you think it's possible? And if so, will it ever look anything like it used to? Will it ever look like it used to in any way? The second story is as follows. I went to an AA meeting with my former boyfriend and his mother, and it was a good time. Despite the fact that I was on the verge of tears, terrified, and sweating, it was fantastic. I'd been free for a total of 144 days. There was no cocaine ingested for the whole 11-day period. Nicotine abstinence should be observed for 30 days. 1 whole day without cannabis or alcohol. From now on, I'll be sober. In other words, my probable ex-boyfriend ed up and was doing narcotics behind my back. I finally admitted it today, and I was in a complete state of shock. Not sure whether I'm going to be able to forgive him. I'm not sure whether I should do it or not. This is especially true given the fact that his dishonesty is the product of drug use. We were involved in a very active addiction for almost a year and a half together. When we finally got off of it and recovered some confidence, coke became a couple of times a month habit for us, until he spent a week trying to keep it hidden from me while sending filthy messages, flirting online, and contacting his ex-girlfriend. He's a frickin' loser, he. Unfortunately, while everything has been awesome, if not perfect, everything has been awesome. I've never felt better than I do right now. But then there are drugs, and then there's poof. My ideal boyfriend changes into a slime bag, which I find hilarious. Is it better for me to stay and give him a second chance to complete this sober, or do we need to move on? Aside from the final 5 months of abstaining from Essen, he cheated on me during the whole time we were together. His drug use continued until he became relapsed, but he never hit anybody. Trying to make him understand that addiction is a disease over which he has no control is something I'm striving to do. His mother suffers from alcoholism, and she was there at today's meeting as well. There are no words to describe how terrible it is. I'm at a loss for what to say. We both spent the whole day sobbing our eyes out. I'd never seen him cry so hard in my life. I could feel his sincerity, but I can't bear to look at him right now since I'm so tired of the deception. All I want is to be happy and free of drugs and alcohol. He pleaded with me to stick by his side through everything so that he could demonstrate to me what a good guy he can be. He just wants a life with me, a marriage with me, and so on. But, Motherfin, how can I ever put my faith in him again?